Superpowers for good, shaping the fate. Investors and dreamers open the gate. Supercross stands loud, proud and true, building tomorrow for me and you.
Welcome, everyone. I am so happy today. We have with us today Nicole Etchart, and she is just an amazing human being who's devoted decades now to the practice of investing in social entrepreneurs and underserved communities. I am so excited to introduce her to you because I think we all want to channel a little bit of our own inner Nicole. So stick around for this conversation. You don't want to miss it. Nicole, welcome to the show. We're just thrilled to have you today.
Thank you so much, Devin. I'm thrilled to be here and honored that you invited me.
Well, thank you very, very much. Now, you have been leading an organization called NEST. I think the name must imply an acronym because you have two S's in your name. Tell us about the name so we understand that at the top here.
Sure. Yes. Well, NEST, it was originally an acronym. We decided to move away from the acronym. The double S's stood for self-sustainability. But basically, I think NEST sort of reflects well what the organization does, which is really to help social enterprises to consolidate and grow so that they have higher impact. And what NEST does is help them in that process. So that's why the word NEST is really very appropriate. They stay with the nest until they're really ready to fly out and really ready to be independent, self-sustainable, and can increase their impact. Since as they increase their impact, as they grow, they will definitely increase their impact. Most of these enterprises, not to get too much into details, but most of these enterprises that we focus on are providing dignified employment to underserved communities. In fact, all of them are. And so as they grow, they're able to grow and the jobs that they're offering, they're able to increase the income that they're offering, and so forth. So basically, that's the name, and that's what NEST is about. We've been investing and supporting social entrepreneurs in emerging market countries for close to 30 years. NEST was founded in Central Eastern Europe, and then we took it to Latin America. And there we've been investing in small and medium-sized enterprises led by visionary entrepreneurs who are really devoted to having great impact, both by providing dignified employment to underserved communities. And by underserved communities, I mean people with disabilities, at-risk youth, low-income women, indigenous communities, ethnic minorities, people who otherwise have a difficult time for a variety of reasons accessing the employment and labor market. These enterprises provide the training, the skills, the psychological support, and so forth to help these communities access these jobs. And these jobs are good jobs. They pay well, they have contracts, and the people are able to move out of poverty, provide for their families, and definitely determine their own futures. At the same time, these companies are very green. They're very sustainable. They have best practices in sustainable agriculture, in circular economy, in all kinds of practices that make sure that we're not damaging the planet. So, in these almost 30 years, we've invested in close to 250 companies that have created 112,000 dignified jobs, impacting 1.7 million people. And NEST measures all of this because we're an impact investor. So we make sure that we know how these jobs, are they good jobs? Are they sustainable jobs? And are they really moving people out of poverty? And perhaps one other thing I should mention, which I think is very important, is we are a gender lens investor, which means that we put women front and center of these companies. We believe strongly that by empowering women and giving them the opportunities to fully demonstrate their potential, we know for a fact that these companies do better. It's not only the right thing to do, but it's the smart thing to do. And so across all of our companies, we are investing in women, we are supporting women, and we are making sure that women are in leadership positions and that they have a voice at the table and are also in the governance structures of these companies. And I have to say, it's not always easy because a lot of our society is, of course, still not designed to do that, to be inclusive. But we're working on it. We're committed to it. And we have made a great, we see that.
Well, this is, I love what you're doing. I wonder if you can think of a company or two that you've invested in, and tell us a company, that investment, and how things turned out.
Sure. Well, we invest in different sectors. Sustainable agriculture is one. IT is another. Circular economy is another. So we have a very diverse portfolio of companies. Perhaps one that is one of my favorite is a company that's in the Brazilian Amazon. NESsT has an initiative in the Amazon where we're supporting companies throughout Brazil, Colombia, Peru, and Ecuador. Many of these are cooperatives. And one of these companies in Brazil, Aswabe, is a company that produces what we call the Brazilian nut, which is very nutritious. It's a superfood. The leader of the company is a woman. She's very visionary. She is a producer, but she, became the entrepreneur leading the company, the executive director. They source from 350 people, and their practices are very sustainable. And they're accessing the market, both domestic and global, for those companies. And they pay a very fair price to the producers, which has made a great difference in the lives of these producers, most of whom are women. So Aswabe is a very, very iconic, the type of enterprise that we're working with. They're in remote areas, difficult areas, as you can well imagine, in the Brazilian Amazon, the distances, the remoteness, the access to technology, very difficult. So we take a very comprehensive approach with these companies. First, we select them very carefully to enter our accelerator program. We interview them, we interview their suppliers, their stakeholders, their clients, and so forth, to make sure that these companies are truly and devoted to impact and are willing and able to measure that impact. And we identify all of the needs that the companies have together with them. And then we enter into a partnership, and they become part of our portfolio, and we provide them with tools, with training, and with capital. And I think that's a very important aspect of NESsT that sort of stands out as because we're not only providing capacity support and business services, we're also providing capital in the form of recoverable grants, which have to be repaid, or low interest loans and so forth. So we're helping these companies learn to access capital, because as you can imagine, many of them do not have that track record, and they're not able to access commercial credit. So we provide that credit, and that allows them to invest in their infrastructure and also in improving their storage facilities and so forth, but also in working capital so that they can purchase products from their suppliers before they sell them in the market. So blended finance is key to our approach. And then we stay with these companies 3-4 years until they're really consolidated and really ready to grow. And that's what's been happening with Aswabe. Now, that's our accelerator program. And in our impact funds, we have 2 funds, the Lirio Fund in Latin America and the Violet Fund in Central Eastern Europe. We also help these companies as they advance and they're growing, and they have higher levels of sales. They still need that credit, that friendly credit. So there we provide them with friendly loans, patient loans, that they are able to take a year, to start paying back, grace period, and so forth. So we have both the accelerator program and the impact funds. all of which are helping these companies to consolidate, grow, and reach more people. And as you can imagine, in the Amazon, going back to the Aswabe example, this is super important and totally related to climate change, because as communities are able to move away from destruction of the forest and quick solutions, and more, and move into more sustainable businesses, it can make a great impact on climate change.
Yeah, for sure. Here at Superpowers for Good, we're firm believers that investments can make a difference and change, solving world problems. We're all about impact investing and trying to help ordinary people do it more effectively. If you were going to offer some tips to individuals who are investing directly in companies, typically via regulation crowdfunding, what tips would you offer for maximizing your impact?
Well, I guess I should start by saying that we're an impact first investor. So although we expect our funding and financing to be repaid, we are really looking for impact first. And so I would say that my first message to most investors is be very clear if that is what you're really looking for. Because if you are, which I hope you are, it's going to require some characteristics and that are perhaps different than in the purely commercial world. I think one of that is patience. So when you're working in remote areas with communities that are low income, the changes do not happen overnight. So having patient capital, having patient business services, and working with a company, accompanying the companies through their journey is critical. And we see that all the time, I think, in impact investing. When investors don't come in clearly with that impact first lens, and they want a quick turnaround, it's not going to work. It's not going to be impact investing. So I think the patience is critical. I think also some tolerance for risk. Obviously, if you're working with, diverse, low-income communities in very, difficult circumstances, some of them people that have been incarcerated, others that have been homeless, then that it really requires that of course, that, you take some level of risk. It can be, well-informed risk, of course, but, sometimes our companies do have to restructure their loans. They do take longer. Certainly we saw that during COVID, but we help them do that. And they're resilient entrepreneurs, and they're committed to doing things right. So, we saw that, in the majority of these companies were able to get back on track. But it does require some appetite for risk. And I think that's really important. And I think that, what I would say another role of the impact investor is to make others aware of, other global players aware of the situation on the ground. I think what is lacking right now is maybe there is a distance between, the key decision makers that are bringing the resources to the communities and the people that are on the ground working with them. NESsT, for example, we have local teams that speak the local language, that are from the areas that we work. They understand the communities. They practice, deep listening, and they're partners. They see themselves as partners. So it's very important for those that are providing the resources and at a scale to be committed to the local realities and working with those local realities. So I think that those things, patience, some risk tolerance, and commitment to working locally and listening to communities and listening to the on the ground problems are key for impact investors to succeed. And I believe strongly that they will, because I see that with NESsT. I see that the entrepreneurs on the ground have the solutions and they are willing to take the risk. Now we just need to make sure that we back them up.
Yeah, it's such a fantastic model. I congratulate you, and I appreciate you sharing some of your insights for helping us be better impact investors. Folks, we're here today with Nicole Etchart. She is the founder or co-founder and former CEO of NESsT, an organization that does impact first investing among underserved communities in emerging countries. It's amazing work that she's been doing. We're so grateful that she's here. We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we'll talk to her about her superpower. So stick around. You don't want to miss this.
You can get in on the ground floor to help fix the climate crisis for as little as $100. Pause now to scan the QR code to get started or visit s4g.biz/raisegreen. You can beat a green at Raise Green.
Want to learn from the world's great change makers? Find your superpower. Subscribe to the Superpowers for Good newsletter at superpowersforgood.com. Make your strengths into superpowers that will change the world. Join the super crowd today. Superpowers4good.com.
Hope to raise money from the impact crowd. Good investors are as interested in community, social or environmental impact as you. Connect with Funding Hope, an SEC-registered FINRA member crowdfunding portal to learn how to raise capital from the impact crowd. Scan the QR code now.
Welcome back, everyone. We're so excited to have you here. Thank you for being here. We've got today Nicole Etchart with us. She is the co-founder and former CEO of NESsT, an impact investment fund that has been doing this for decades. And we're so grateful that she's here. We're going to shift gears now and chat with her about her superpower. So stick around. You don't want to miss this. Nicole, you really have done stuff that I so deeply admire. Launching the fund, investing in so many challenging, difficult places, demonstrating for us how to do this well and effectively, creating hundreds of thousands of jobs, touching over 1 million people. You're amazing. You're amazing. What is your superpower?
Well, I don't know if there's a superpower, but I would say that my background actually is I'm a child of a working class family that migrated to the United States when I was young. And, my parents were very justice oriented and they were very hardworking. And I think they instilled that in me at an early age, so that by the time that I was, finishing college and ready to launch my career, I knew that I wanted to make a difference. And, and that led me to eventually start and launch NESsT. And I think the one of the key elements in my work and in my, is I am very much a believer in fairness and justice. And I really believe that, that is key to our world and to life. And so, but probably my superpower has been that I have taken those elements that my parents gave me, which is hard work. And I would say 90% of what NESsT has been just the hard work of myself and the team, the wonderful team that I have worked with, closely. It's persevering. It's not giving up. It's when we were told early on that, you can't teach entrepreneurship to social organizations. You can't, they're never going to succeed. Well, we said, I don't think that's true. We're going to prove that you're wrong. And we did. So we provided, the skills and the competencies that these organizations needed and their leaders needed, and they were able to run, grow businesses that eventually succeeded. And if you look across all of the portfolio of NESsT, many of these companies are thriving still today. And I was happy to see that earlier this year when I went to Romania. Many of the companies we supported, 15 years ago are thriving, and our leaders and our role models. So I think, just being very determined, not losing sight of the north, of the star, of what we're trying to achieve, what I'm trying to achieve in this case. Maybe not listening or not letting the naysayers influence me too much, and just picking ourselves up and going, and continuing. So I think, yeah, hard work, resilience, perseverance, many of the same characteristics that our social entrepreneurs have, I think are some of the superpowers that I have. So I kind of consider myself a social entrepreneur in many senses.
Sure, of course you are. I think it's a great example of the kind of thing that entrepreneurs need to succeed. All entrepreneurs need to be resilient and persevere and work hard. Can you think of a specific example of a time when you really overcame a particular challenge and can sort of look back at that as an example of how you've used your superpower over the years?
Yes, one that comes to mind is the first probably 15, 18 years of NESsT. We ran our accelerator program, and as I mentioned before, some of our companies that were in the accelerator program needed additional capital. They needed higher levels of capital. So we were investing, $50,000, $25,000, $75,000 in them, but they needed more. And there were no impact investors out there providing, either they were beyond the $1 million, and so there weren't any in the missing middle. So NESsT works in this, we call it the missing middle, which is not where startups are, which there's a lot of funding for, and not where many impact investors that want a financial return are, beyond the 1 million, 1.5 million, but this missing middle. So, basically, we went to our board and we said, we want to start our own impact fund. And I have to say, that we were told, oh, no, you guys don't have that experience. You are accelerator program. You're not an impact investor. That's not going to work. And we said, well, we're going to, we believe that we have the experience because we've been working with these companies and we've been providing them with capital. Yes, not investment capital, grant capital that they have to repay. And we've been successful. Our repayment rate has been over 85%. So, we have the skills and the knowledge and so forth. And we do have a lot of friends of NESsT that are investment professionals and so forth. Anyway, I have to say that it took about a year and lots of, convincing and demonstrating and not giving up, not to mention the fact that, once we did finally get the green light from the board, then we had to go out and raise the funding, and were met with the same kind of reaction. But you don't do impact investing. You're, accelerator. And so we had very slowly, with lots of conversations, and we had a group of, I think you could say, early adopters that believed in us and knew us and knew me from, personal experience, past and so forth. And they were willing to give the first investments, and then slowly but surely others came on board. So I think that's a good example of just not giving up. And today we have 2 functioning funds in Europe, and we're investing millions of dollars on companies. So
yeah, great example, great powerful example. Now, quickly, can you give us one tip for being more resilient?
I think that maybe the story I just finished saying can demonstrate one tip, and that is find people who do believe in you, and make sure that you have those mentors who are there to support you, and who believe in you and will reassure you that you are really on the right path. I think that it's even though this requires a lot of bravery and courage, we are human beings, and so we do need that support. And I think that I've had that support along the way, And so I think that's
Great,
critical.
great. And people can learn more about NESsT at NEST with 2 S's.org, right?
Correct. Yes.
All righty. Well,
Please.
Nicole, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. We wish you every success in your great work.
Thank you so much, Devin. It was a pleasure. I really enjoyed it.
All righty. Let's do some good.